Okay. You ready?
Ready.
Okay. Hey, y'all, welcome. This is BIA Live here on Friday. We're with Kai Delaney down at Delaney Law over here on Main Street. Good morning, Kai.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. As y'all know, you've been tuning in every week. We are out here in the community visiting with business owners, events. We had Pisgah Thunder last week, and now we're here with Kai, who's an avid outdoors woman. Avid risk taker, can we say that?
I would say I've done a lot of things that might be called daring.
But now she is kind of flipping the coin on that, and she's taking it a step further and actually planning for these risks for other people. Tell us a little bit more about what that means.
Yeah, so I work at Delaney Law. I'm a estate planner, and what I do is that clients come and they let me know what their assets are, family dynamics are. We take a look at everything and say what would happen if they don't do a plan and decide what they would rather have happen, and so proactively plan their assets and how they want their family to interact.
That sounds pretty advanced. I mean, I'm looking at, I've got 2 kids, I just have a house. Why would I need to come to you? I'm doing the day, doing the thing. My kids are fine, but I'm only not even 40. Why would I need to come to you?
Absolutely. And I would love to say that we have certainty about what is going to happen to us or when that's going to happen, but because it's an uncertain world, we just kind of have to plan for what would happen, particularly with minor kids, in the absence of us being able to take care of them. And if we don't plan, typically if we have a house, it's a high enough asset that it's going to go through a court process called probate. And that process can take a year or more. And so that means all of the assets you have, all the money your family might need, are tied up in the court process. And also, that's a process where a guardian is named for your minor kids. So they could be in foster care during that time, or there could be a family fight about who the caregiver is going to be.
Well, that sounds a little scary and a little unstable for children.
It absolutely can be, and that's why we do the planning, to have a good plan in place for the whole family.
Okay, so kind of walk me through. So I'll call you, and we meet. What's your process? How do I kind of get over my fear of nothing's going to happen to me?
Absolutely. Yeah, that we're all invincible. Yeah, I think that the first thing is a 15-minute consult, and we just kind of go over my process and how to get started. I have an in-depth intake that asks, goes through all the assets, who the players are in a family, who you'd want to nominate to take care of your money, to take care of your kids, to overlook the process. So who's good at different roles. Mm-hmm. And then we sit down together and we make a plan. Okay. And then we have a lot of reminders and follow-up and support to help people wherever they might get stuck, whether it's thinking about assets or a tough family dynamic that they need some help navigating, or naming guardians, and really guide them through that process so that they do end up getting a plan in place. And it takes about 2 months from the first we first meet to signing a plan, having it completely funded, and being totally protected.
Wow, that doesn't seem like a whole lot even. It seems a little bit, not as big a piece of chew to bite off of, I guess.
No, and a lot
of person walking in.
Yeah, a lot of clients will tear up because it's a really big relief, even if they haven't been thinking about it. It's been something silently weighing on them.
Sure.
And I think that couples love talking about finances together with support. A lot of times one family member is the CFO and the other one might be in the dark about how things run. Right. And so it's a really clarifying and often really moving process to go through.
Wow, that does sound quite, you make it sound so very attractive to plan. So we've got this document in place, or I guess what are the pieces that you discuss with them? So, because in an estate, I think of Gaunt the Wind, and I think of plantations, and I certainly don't have that. So when you say estate, what does that all entail?
Yeah, so when I talk about an estate plan, a lot of people automatically go to a will. And that's like if I were talking about tools and people talked about a hammer, right?
Okay.
I'm talking about creating a whole toolbox of different things that will help in case you're incapacitated. So that might look like if you are in a coma, who can make healthcare decisions for you? Or who has the power of attorney to do stuff with your money while you're recovering from an accident? In the absence of having that, someone has to go to court and get a conservatorship over you.
Oh.
And then you have to go to court to have that removed. That's kind of what happened to Britney Spears. So
okay.
having these plans in place is absolutely great for anyone over 18. And it becomes more sophisticated as you have minor kids and you have assets.
Right. Well, there was a big news splash not too long ago. So there's this movie star that died, and now that's a big mess, from what I understand. Yes, blonde.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. She died in her 50s without any estate planning, had 2 kids from 2 separate marriages. Her younger son, who's 21 or in his early 20s, came forward to want to oversee her entire estate. And there was conflict because she also has a younger son and his father. So it was a big mess. It didn't have to be, with a little bit of planning.
In just a couple months.
Just a couple months.
Wow.
And then we update it, that our goal is to really communicate so people know when to update their plans, when to come see us, when to talk about things, to keep it updated through the course of a lifetime.
So it's kind of just like a living document that is adjusted as you change and your families change and life just keeps on rolling.
Absolutely. And if you move to another state or anything happens, that has to be updated.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you'd mentioned probate, and so like things have to go through probate. Is there anything that may not go through probate that would give families access to funds to help get that initial shock period and funeral expenses and immediate care and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of things that don't have to go through probate, and that can be retirement accounts or life insurance plans.
Okay.
And so often when we're planning for somebody where their salary or their income is required to sustain someone else, that might be a minor kid or an older parent, if they don't have a life insurance policy in place, we'll recommend that they look into that as a way of providing for that person and being able to have those funds immediately when the care needs to be given.
So, but if, like, I remember being a stay-at-home mom years and years and years ago, and I didn't have an income. I was just taking care of my babies. So why would I need a life insurance policy then for like a situation like that?
Absolutely. So when we talk to parents, we really talk about what both people add to the family and the family dynamics. And so when someone stays at home and they're really taking care of the household, they're giving childcare, they're doing meals, we talk about what the cost would be of replicating that in the marketplace. And if the surviving spouse or the theoretical surviving spouse thinks, I couldn't work and replicate all those tasks and keep my sanity at all, then we recommend getting a life insurance policy, even for someone who might not be making money outside of the home.
Right, okay. And that's kind of how we connected, because we do life insurance and provide insurance. And so we've been it's been really interesting to see how well we dovetail in just planning and mitigating risk for families, whether it's a tree falling through the house or after someone passes, and making sure that their family and kids can continue with life as they wanted them to, as like their wishes are. So that's awesome. Anything else you want to add to us? Like anything that we might not know about estate planning or legacy planning that you do?
Yeah, one thing I'd love to add is that we can really help provide a rule book for how money is spent. So even if people have an insurance policy, a life insurance policy that would provide income and immediate access, real care has to be given in picking who the beneficiaries are and considering whether that is appropriate to be a total outright payment, or whether the person getting that policy wants to provide some context, some rules about what that's going to be spent on and when. So if that's like schooling, health, support, maintenance for that minor kid, that can all be safeguarded with a plan.
That's what I'm kind of thinking of. Like if I pass and my children are left, and I can leave my life insurance policy for them with the rules of like, hey, this is going to go towards college, or this goes towards their housing, or this is going to sit until they're X years old.
Through
And-
planning, yes.
Yes, and that happens through planning. That happens through the documents that you are creating and the literature that you're creating for that family.
That's right, and we can even name who the person is who's going to help guide when money is spent for those
Gotcha.
things. And at a certain point, the minor kid can become, turn 18 or 21 or 25 and can become a co-trustee. So
Okay.
they're also starting to consider finances and being involved in that process.
Okay, so that's just another tool in this toolbox you're helping your clients create.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. I like that analogy a lot. I think that's super helpful for people to understand, kind of, and it takes the edge off of what it mean, why
Yeah.
when that document would actually go into play.
Right, and a lot of the documents I hope that my clients never ever need, but if they do need them, it'll be too late to create them.
Right.
And so that's why it's pretty simple to do it up front,
Yes.
but once you wait and they're incapacitated, then you're talking about a long court process that could involve conflict, gets really expensive with lawyers' fees, court
Right.
fees, and then delays. So,
Yeah.
so it's a process that really gives people peace of mind.
So this is kind of like when we go for rides in the forest, we're planning our route and we're planning to make sure we have hydration and nutrition instead of just randomly going out in the forest on a bike and not telling anyone where you are and just saying, have at it, let's go.
Right, and hopefully having a little repair kit so
Yeah,
you can fix it flat.
exactly, that too. So it's just building all those tools just as if you're going for a bike ride.
That's it.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today, Kai. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks
it.
for
Your
having me.
office is lovely. What a beautiful spot here on Main. Follow us on Instagram, y'all. Kai Delaney, she's over here on Main Street. Give her a call, Delaney Law, and she's on Instagram, Facebook too.
Facebook too.
After you click over to Brevard Insurance, you can click on over to Delaney Law and check that out. Join us next week. We are going to be here and doing another one on claims. Oh, that's even more fun. So join. We'll see you next week.